Davening takeaway, Likkutei Torah, Bamidbar, Daf Chaf Ches, 28th page. On this daf, starting with the mimer Zeis Chanukah Zabayas, the all three columns of that on the daf focus on davening, and it goes beyond the short time here to talk about a davening takeaway to go through everything. So I highly recommend that you find a source either inside the mimer itself or one of the summaries to review all the steps that it talks about here. But in Bekitzer, in short, what this is talking about is discussing the idea of karbanos, of offerings, animal offerings in particular, and how in the service of Hashem, we do this in davening through offering our nefesh bahamis, our animal human soul. And many will recall that this is brought up in the famous mimer Vatsi Lagani, to some extent. But here in this mimer, it goes through step by step through the davening, talking about how we have an obligation in the davening, the process of davening being connected to karbanos of the day, that we need to take our heart and completely transform our heart from one complete end to the other, from worrying and thinking and being involved with worldly things and thinking, speech and action, and transforming that into a desire and a love and a connection to Hashem. And just like our nefesh bahamis, our animal soul, is connected to the spiritual angels known as the Chayos HaKodesh and Ofanim. These are the so-called, as it were, spiritual animal-like creatures, the malachim, the angels that have that kind of characteristic, that lift up the kisei. And there is a correspondence there that we can connect from our animal soul. Very briefly, the idea is that we go through the davening, and again, the mimer goes through detail, where we think about praising Hashem, how amazing Hashem is, connecting with that with Hashem through that praise, working our way up the ladder, all the way up to Shema and then the Tefillah, the Shemon Esrei, and how that then can transform our animal soul into an amazing connection and excitement with Hashem, to the point where Hayom Yom says we actually can stand together in front of the infinite one himself, Hashem, in his essence. And just like the angels, the Ophanim, they're describing them compared to the Seraphim, the fiery angels. The fiery angels saying Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. The Ophanim hear this, they get extremely excited, and with a tremendous noise, loudness, they elevate themselves, lu'umas hasrafim. And so the mimer says that this idea of lu'umas hasrafim, corresponding and coming up to this, as it were, like the same level as the seraphim, that through that rash, through that noise, that tremendous noise, is from that awareness of this, what this noise is of this tremendous godliness. The seraphim, they get elevated and, as it were, burnt up. They go so high as to be above Hashem, as it were, on the aspects of Hashem on the chariot, and the Ophanim are able to elevate themselves up to that. And one little thought here that's not in the mimer specifically, but the idea of lu'umas, the idea of corresponding to, we know in Tanya, the idea of lu'umas, when it talks about tzaddik tovlo, tzaddik v'ralo, rasha v'tovlo, v'rasha v'ralo, that you have a perfect tzaddik, an imperfect tzaddik, an imperfect wicked person, rasha, and a perfectly wicked rasha. And Tanya explains that the correspondence of, say, a tzaddik v'ralo, an imperfect tzaddik, is the imperfectly wicked rasha, meaning that it's like the converse, it switches. And so if we can, then we realize, and we see in other places where the seraphim, these angels which get a tremendous elevation, the point where they fly up beyond their normal level, up to very high levels, the Ophanim, initially reaching up to that, they are we see in other places the source of hamshacha, of drawing down, and through through the process of drawing down through the different levels, end up down here in this world into various aspects of the world, including our nefesh bahamas. And so we see that dual process of going elevating and then drawing down bracha, etc., hamshacha down. This is all part of the process that we're doing when we're davening. And if we just spend the time and leave aside at the door when we walk into shul, so that we're not involved in any of the worldly things, conversations about that, whatnot, but focusing on the davening, we can then have a tremendously inspiring experience, which then can carry the rest of the day.